With Aventurine releasing in less than 2 weeks, he is looking to be one of, if not the best sustainer out there. It also helps that he's such a husbando as well. I mean, just look at this picture. Anyway, with all of the information and gameplay we have of Aventurine so far, we can really break down what makes him so good, as well as all of the team synergies that he'll pair really well with. In this video, we'll analyze his kit, his story, his everything of why he's going to be quite possibly the best must-pull character that everyone will need. Starting off with his kit, his basic attack is just, basic. Aventurine's skill, Cornerstone Deluxe, is going to give a stackable shield for his entire team, which will get stronger the more defense that Aventurine has. And here's the cool thing, whenever allies get attacked, every single hit, every individual hit will raise a blind bet for Aventurine. Aventurine's talent, Shot Loaded Right, will launch a follow-up attack once that reaches max stacks, and it'll regen more shields for the team. Pretty solid so far. Although the IPC can't be happy with how many coins he's wasting here on the enemies. There's also an effect res boost for all of his allies with that fortified wager buff that comes from his skill. And Aventurine can just resist the crowd control debuffs. We also have to remember that Aventurine never loses, no matter how hard he gambles. His ultimate, Roulette Shark, will gain him a random amount of blind bet points and inflict a debuff called Unnerved on an enemy. When an ally hits an enemy with Unnerved, they have a crit damage increase. And finally, his technique, the Red or the Black, will grant one of 3 different buff values of defense to the entire team. In typical gambling fashion, it's whatever the slots roll. With this amazing kit, there is a lot going on in this Hot Guy's toolkit. As far as sustainers go, there hasn't really been any important shield-focused ones. Oh, sorry Japard. Especially with how the game is leaning towards more damage and buffing all of the endgame content recently, shields could really become more prevalent and stronger in the future. And in general, with each coming patch, there isn't really any characters that necessarily get weaker, and in some cases they actually get stronger as time goes on. And I firmly believe this will be the exact same scenario for Aventurine, and as time passes, he'll just become more and more usable. He may not have a direct cleanse like some of your abundance characters, but he does offer that effect resistance to prevent the onslaught of debuffs that all of the enemies seem to have nowadays. Sadly, we won't know any specific numbers or anything for his kit until we fully get our hands on him, but I'm sure he'll be in a perfect spot when he does release. From playing the story version of Aventurine that we got, we can also see that he's very SP positive. The strength of his shield, especially stacking with his defense, will mean that he's able to use more basic attacks than some other sustainers. In other words, he'll use his skill less because the shields will withstand a lot more damage than we originally thought. Since we took our Trailblazing to Penacony, we can also see a couple of shifts that are happening in the meta, which we'll go into further in another video, but for now, let's just take notice of the fact that Honkai seems to be pushing for more follow-up attack-based gameplay. I mean, they gave us a free Dr. Ratio, Topaz is due for another rerun very soon, she's one of the ones we haven't had yet, and even in things like Pure Fiction, depending on what choice buffs you can take in that circulation, some of them do lean pretty heavy into follow-up attacks. Now let's talk about the wide diversity of teams that Aventurine is going to work very well in. For the sake of our team building, I was going to use this rat, but then I actually remembered that I did pull Jeppy during the Sparkle banner, so he's our Aventurine now. Because of the wide diversity of builds you can use for Aventurine, which we'll discuss in a little while, there's a wide diversity of characters that you can pull him with. Naturally, he's going to pair really well with other imaginary units like Dr. Ratio or Don Hong Imbibitor Lune, as well as the different follow-up attackers like Clara, Topaz, and even if Topaz doesn't quite like Aventurine, her follow-up attack damage boost will be very nice if you do want to run Aventurine as a sub-DPS. As for the current meta, Aventurine slots in really well with the hyper carry teams, Cooler Daniel, and then of course whatever mix and match of Harmony units you would like for your DPS composition. The one team that's really strong right now that I won't try to use Aventurine in is Nihility. The main issues here are that none of them really stack with crit damage. Kafka, Black Swan, they both love attack. Acheron does like the crit, but she also likes having the other Nihility units on her team. And yeah, Aventurine does put the debuff with his ultimate onto the enemy, but Acheron still prefers to have other units to really crank up her damage. That doesn't mean it can't be done, it just means it won't be as strong as some of his other team compositions. I'm also excited to try out Aventurine in my pure fiction teams, especially because my Herd and Himeko are both level 70, and I'm still able to do it somehow, so it's just gonna get even stronger. So yeah, Aventurine is much more than just a big, strong, protective... Oh, sorry, I was distracted. Before we get into Aventurine's builds, let's also quickly talk about his leverage while he plays bingo. From using the story version of Aventurine, we can see that as we get more defense, it seems like he's getting a bigger crit rate buff called leverage. We were able to compare this with his technique, since it gives 3 different levels of that defense boost, and when you got the spades, which was the highest defense boost, he had the most crit rate. We also know something called bingo. To summarize that one, for every follow-up attack one of your allies does, he'll get a stack of blind bet up to 3 times before it doesn't work, unless you reset it with an Aventurine turn. Now we got those out of the way, let's talk about some builds. Of course, the obvious one is going to be for full defense Aventurine, meaning the Knight of Purity Palace 4-piece, which will be really good with that extra shield protection. I'll probably personally end up switching to the Messenger set, just because I like all my supports having the speed, as well as the boost that the 4-piece gives to all of the other DPS. Plus, it always helps to get closer to another speed breakpoint if you need to. For planar ornaments, I'm going to start off my Aventurine with Broken Keel for that lovely crit damage boost to my DPS. Inert Cell Soda will be a fun choice if you want to do the sub DPS route, but you are going to be way better off using Broken Keel. There is a wide diversity of what you can build him with, so it really comes down to what you're looking for, and depending on what your team compositions are. Like, if you really wanted to, you could even run Penacony if you were running an imaginary DPS team like a Dan Heng, a Baibanurlane. My current plan for him is to have that 4-piece messenger set, and as you can see, I currently don't have it, so I will be going into Cavern Corrosion yet again. And then using Broken Keel for the crit damage, and he'll have a ton of effect res anyway, so you'll easily meet the requirement for it. We'll also quickly mention his light cone choices here. Obviously his best is going to be Inherently Unjust Destiny, which is his signature light cone, which we don't necessarily have numbers for yet, but I'm sure it'll be very good for him, and probably for other preservation units as well. Another choice is Trend of the Universal Market. It'll increase his defense, and as he gets more defense, he'll do DOT damage for 2 turns. Even this change would make him significantly more playable in Nihility teams as well. A potential third choice you can use for Light Cone for Aventurine is This Is Me, but this would be the option more for if you want to do damage with him and you didn't get his signature. And yeah, I'll probably end up having to pull for Aventurine and his signature Light Cone. If you asked me this a few weeks ago when Acheron came out or when they did the live stream, I was planning to skip him originally, but I just can't. And the last thing I want to mention is just the amazing character, polish, and story that he has. Camden Sakowski is the VA for Aventurine, and he did a phenomenal job of capturing everything that we needed in Aventurine. But we already knew that Honkai Star Rail had such amazing top-tier talent already. When you put all of it together, especially with the Penacony story that we are having right now, it's just a phenomenal experience and a phenomenal gameplay. I could go on for a while about the Penacony story, and I plan to do so in a future video, but for all the reasons listed here today, I honestly do believe that Aventurine is the best new character we're going to have, and every single Honkai Star Rail player can benefit from having him in their lineup. Of course, those are just my thoughts, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say about Aventurine. Are you going to be pulling for him? Let me know in the comments below. The future is looking really good in Honkai Star Rail, so I can't wait to make more content for all of you, so make sure you follow and subscribe for more Honkai Star Rail. In the meantime though, I will catch you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.
Don't be intimidated, Squidward. Try to imagine him in his underwear.